Good evening. We would like to welcome the Board of Directors, welcome everyone to the Board of Directors agenda meeting for the April 9th, 2024 meeting. This is our opportunity to review the agenda for our former board meeting that will be held on April the 16th. Before we get started, we have two presentations today that we'll share. I'm going to ask Vice Mayor Webb to join me at the podium. Members of the City Board, as you are aware, the City of Little Rock in the 2023-2024 state basketball year really saw some great basketball, both on the boys and girls side for 6A and 4A. Today's agenda, we're going to specifically discuss 6A. And as we know, and I really do wish City Director Ken Richardson was here, who is an alumnus of Little Rock Central High School.
I'm here, Mayor. Hair to the old gold, hair to the black.
You want to say that again, just so that make sure that.
I'm here, hair to the old gold, hair to the black.
All right, all right. Well, as City Director Ken Richardson is joining Vice Mayor Webb and I, he's joining virtually. We want to take this time, to just share our appreciation to the student athletes for the 2023-2024 year. First, for Coach Marlon Williams, if he and the girls basketball team would come before us first. The girls team. We're first gonna, and for the girls, I want to make sure you all know that Vice Mayor Webb used to play basketball at Hall High, and she played in college. So. She had a mean jumper, as I was told. I've never seen it, but I was told she had a mean jumper. But we just want to take this time, Vice Mayor Webb, myself, City Director Richardson, and the entire City of Little Rock Board of Directors to share our appreciation on how well you all represented the City of Little Rock at the state basketball level by winning your championship, and want to say congratulations, but also give you an official plaque to let you know how much your city appreciates you and how well you guys have done, not only on the court, but as well in the classroom. And so we want to present this to you, Coach. And before we take a picture, what we would like is for each student athlete to come before us after the coach gives some words and just to introduce your name and your class.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for this recognition. We really appreciate it, and we're glad that we could represent the City of Little Rock and Little Rock School District at the highest level. So I'd like to say thanks again.
Good evening. I'm Marquita Myers, the assistant coach, and we really do appreciate you all for just taking this time to celebrate us. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Olivia Montgomery, and I'm class of 2024.
Hello, everybody. My name is Avon Sasser, and I'm class of 2024.
Hi, my name is Jordan Marshall, and I'm the class of 2024. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kamaya Johnson. I'm class of 2025. Good evening, and I'm Elise Williams, and I'm class of 2026.
Good evening, my name is Kai Davis, class of 24.
Hi, my name is Andrea Reddix, and I'm class of 2024.
Hi, my name is Amelia Gaston, and I'm class of 25.
Good evening. I'm Taylor Day Davis. I'm class of 2025.
Hi, I'm Mercedes Williams. I'm class of 2025.
Congratulations. Director Webb. I know you're talking about that shot. You still talking. Also want to recognize Director Hines, who also went to Little Rock Central High as well. I want to make sure I state that as well.
And Director Adcock.
And Director Adcock. I do apologize, Director Adcock. I do.
I went to the most important year of Central High School,
If you
58.
Yes, ma'am. And for you all at Little Rock Central High students, City Director Adcock, as she just stated, that she went to the most important year at Central High because she was a part of the class of 1957-58 that integrated. And so
Mayor, real quickly, and I'd like to acknowledge that, and I'd like to hopefully don't offend any of my colleagues by saying not everyone was fortunate enough to get accepted into the best high school in the city, the state, and the world. And if you look at what I'm wearing, Mayor, see my hat?
You got your hat on today, I guess.
And you see my shirt?
Yes, sir.
L to the old goal.
All right.
I'm sorry for my Hall colleagues, my Parkview colleagues, and my McClellan colleagues, but Central is the best, will always be the best. Not only just students, but student athletes. All the athletes do well. They do well in school and involved in a lot of community activities, so they're well-rounded individuals. And it plants a seed that, as you can see, if watered daily on a positive note, it grows into Director Richardson. If that's a good thing or not.
All right,
We're going to
Director
let you
Richardson.
have your day today, Director Richardson.
We definitely will. We definitely will. Vice Mayor Webb, you say a few comments?
I just wanted to make one tiny correction and say something. When I went to Hall, we didn't have girls basketball. We didn't have the opportunity to play, but I did play in college, and it has made my heart so happy. I have followed girls basketball for many years, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week because all I've been doing is watching the women's NCAA, and I'm just so proud to see so many girls playing basketball, and I'm especially proud that we have that opportunity, and it makes my heart happy when I see little boys have shirts on that say 22 and other shirts like that. So for Angel and Caitlin and all of them, so thank you.
Definitely ditto. Now, members of the board, again, as we're joined by Vice Mayor Webb and the other Little Rock City Board members, as well as city board members that went to Central High, being Director Adcock, Richardson, and Hines, we do share and stand in solidarity today to recognize, and we'll ask that the boys team for 2023 and 2024, if they'll come before us, led by Coach Brian Ross. And so first and foremost, we just want to take this time again to the boys 6A state champions to share our appreciation on how well you all represented the Little Rock School District, the city of Little Rock, and statewide by winning the championship and doing it in a very good fashion. We're very grateful for you and what you've been able to do on and off the court. And so to Coach Ross, we want to say thank you, and to the whole entire team, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor Scott and all the city directors for this recognition. This was a special group of young men. And, when he said we represented the city of Little Rock and the state of Arkansas, we really did that. At one point this year, we had played 12 consecutive teams that were out of state in 25 days, I believe, across 4 different states. So we really were all over the country playing basketball this year. And what I love about representing Central High School, everywhere you go, people know who we are. It's a special place, as the directors here have spoken today with their enthusiasm for our accomplishments. That carries over everywhere we go across the country. I'm really proud of these guys for what they accomplished. They faced a lot of adversity, and it wasn't easy, but they stuck together, and they did what it took to win in the end. And to do it in the same year as our girls team was truly special. It's got the spirits really high at Central High School right now. I mean, all the programs. I talked to our football coach the other day, and he said their workouts have never been better because of the enthusiasm that's been built by both the girls program and ours. So we're thankful again for the recognition, and we're proud to represent Little Rock Central High School.
Hi, I'm E. McNeil. I'm class of 2026.
Hey, I'm Austin Tappan. I'm class 2024.
Good afternoon. I'm Joe Hewitt, and I'm class of 2026.
Hi, I'm Brandon Wright, class 2027.
Hi, I'm Daniel Culberson, class of 2024.
I'm CJ Washington, class 2024.
I'm Chase Allen, class of 24. I'm Clay Blair, class 2026.
I'm Dryon Graydon, class of 2026.
Hello, I'm Luke Moore, class of 2025.
I'm Trey Aline, class of 2027.
I'm Trey Stewart, class of 2027.
I'm Caleb Blair, and I'm class of 26.
I'm Michael Harris, I'm class of 2026.
Thank you guys again. Members of the board, we'll now have a presentation from the Department of Community Programs as they share their annual report briefly.
I did hear that, Mayor, briefly. Good afternoon to the mayor, to the board of directors, to the guests, and also to the residents. I'm Dana Doucette. I'm the Director of Community Programs for the City of Little Rock. And I'd like to just share some of the highlights from our 2023 annual report. We're really excited to be able to share with you some of the things that we were able to accomplish last year. I'll go over the highlights in our presentation, and then I'm passing out a book that includes the full report, because as I mentioned, I'll just be going over the highlights. So with the first slide, just reiterating our goals, and our goals are still going with the Youth Master Plan, and they still remain the same. They are to use data as we make our decisions, to increase program quality and accountability, to enhance internal and external communication. This is part of that, so people know what's going on in our department. To develop employability skills, and always to place a priority on children and youth in our community. Some of the ways we do that start on the next slide. Our reentry program is one of our flagship programs. It is now located in the community at 3012 Martin Luther King. We definitely invite each one of you to stop by 3012 MLK so you can see what happens at that location. We become a one-stop shop, if you will, for all things reentry as we continue to help residents with those opportunities. When you get there, you'll meet Dwight Pridgeon, who is our reentry coordinator, as well as Shanika Jones, who's our reentry assistant. Last year, we were able to service 220 participants. And some of the things that we help them with are employment, of course, that's within the city with some private industries, as well as with employee retention, because we want to make sure that the employees keep their jobs. We help them with expungement opportunities, and different things like that, just whatever it is that they need to succeed. One of the next things that we do on the next slide is our school-based intervention. So you may not realize that we actually have every day interventionists who work inside the schools. And we're located at 4 different schools at this point. We are at Central High School, we're at Dunbar Junior High School or middle school, Hamilton Alternative School, and Southwest High Schools. And as I mentioned, we're there on a daily basis interfacing with the students. We started keeping the data on that because there was a time that where, as you can mention, since we deal with youth in the schools, we weren't keeping up with their names or any of that type of thing. But when we were able to work that out, we were able to log in 257 just in the first semester of the school year. So we're really proud of that. On the next slide, you'll realize that since we can't reach everybody in a program, then we actually go to the streets to reach them in the streets where they are. And so our street outreach team just works to reduce violent crime and other criminal activity by going to the different hotspots that are identified through the Little Rock Police Department. We focus on ages 13 to 30, but of course we interface with different people of all ages as we help them with whatever resources they may need. And that would be one of the other, through the other piece of information that I gave you, the hotspots. I'm sorry, not the hotspots, but the Help Yourself newspaper. If you look at that, that's definitely one of the resources that we put in the hands of each of the people that we interface with. And as you can see, last year, that was almost 9,000 people alone with the street outreach team. On the next slide, our after-school programs have been renamed positive prevention programs. Last year, we had 16 different sites, and there were the different agencies that serviced them. We focus on ages 6 to 12 and 13 to 18. We served 643 participants, and the organizations that we worked with are here: Bridge to Success, Our House, Boys and Girls Clubs, Life Skills for Youth, and Brandon House. Those were the agencies who serviced our positive prevention programs. On our next slide, you may remember we had community violence reduction services. Those were the programs that were serviced with ARPA funds. We had 10 different sites and almost 6,000 participants. But the agencies or the topics that we focused on with those community violence reduction services were conflict resolution and anger management. We had a hospital-based intervention program, life skills and workforce readiness, mental health and wellness, as well as prevention of criminal activity through violence intervention. And as I mentioned, there were 10 different sites that focused on those different areas. The next area that we focused on was neighborhood safety programs. We had 5 different sites who serviced 4 different areas, and they were able to service 460 participants. The areas of services that we offered were parental and family and community engagement, recreation, health and wellness, social and emotional learning, and tutoring, STEM activities, and academic enrichment. And again, those were our neighborhood safety programs. On the next slide, you'll get a chance to look at these today with our day labor services. We're very proud of that because what that does is it enables us to reach individuals who need a job, who need funds and resources and opportunity, but they may not be at a point to where they can go full time. So what this allows them to do is start learning some of the skills that they'll need to hold down a job, and we pay them daily. And so that enables them to get some of the financial assistance that they need. So last year we were able to service 164 participants, They worked almost 5,000 hours, but also they were able to service 72 311 projects. Very excited about that because that definitely helped the city of Little Rock as a whole. On the next slide, we have what's called small contracts. And what small contracts do is it helps an organization who may not be big enough or ready for one of our full RFPs, but this allows regular organizations or smaller organizations to get started working with our department. They're able to apply for up to $4,500, and we kind of hold their hands to help them understand what's going to be necessary to work with our department. Last year, we were able to service 10 different organizations, and definitely proud on getting some of them because several of the people who started out as small contracts have now become regular contractors. Very proud of that. On the next slide, you definitely all know about our flagship program, which is the Summer Youth Employment Opportunity. I will add that we still have room for interns between the ages of 16 to 21 to apply, as well as work sites. We could definitely use more work sites. So anyone who's willing to host an intern, please let us know and we'll make sure that you get plugged in. But our Summer Youth Employment Opportunity employs students for 6 weeks in the summertime, ages 16 to 21. Last year, we were able to service 459 students. We had 127 work sites. And we also service them with 10 mentors. So the mentors are the ones who look out for the students. They're not just out there by themselves. We make sure that they are also interfacing with people who are watching to make sure that they have a successful summer. On the next slide, it's our community engagement. So in addition to all the previous programs that I talked about, we also had 15 different activities that we sponsored. And there are things such as our pre-bid seminar. That was to help organizations understand how to work with our department. We had over 200 people attend that seminar. For students who aren't able to get a summer job, we have the Summer Youth Job Fair. And so that again helps students who might not have gotten into the Summer Youth Employment Opportunity. They're still able to get a job with the local business. Our stakeholder meetings, we definitely try to make sure we're engaging with different people in the community who would be stakeholders with our department so we can help them and they can help us with information that we may need to make sure that we're servicing the needs of our residents. Our Back to School Bash is always a great hit as we help students return to school. The Red Ribbon Rally, making sure that they stay drug-free. Last year, we celebrated the 75th anniversary of War Memorial in a partnership. And we are always proud of our Anyone Can food drive because we utilize that along with the fire department to help service some of the needs in our community. And then the community partners and stakeholders, just to give you an example of some of those. One is the Community Schools Program, which I'm sure you know about, that's funded through our department. With the community schools, we're in 6 different schools. Those are Chico, Mableville, Stevens, Washington, and Watson's elementary schools, as well as Mableville Middle School. We work with the Little Rock Police Department in their youth programs, the Mayor's Youth Council, Parks and Recreation, their summer playground programs. We have a financial resources hotline with Our House that helps anyone who has any financial need. We try to give them the information they need to get ahead. The Be Mighty Food Security makes sure that students always have a meal throughout the year, especially in the summertime. And then we also work with City Year. And so again, these are just the highlights of some of the things that we did in 2023. If anyone would like a copy of the actual report, we do have those available. Just contact our office. And at this point, I'll entertain any questions.
Director Richardson.
Yes, Mayor Dana, thank you for your presentation, and thank you and your staff for the work that you're doing. And Mayor, I hope my questions doesn't come across as being dismissive of the work that's being done, because there has been some great work that's being done. But I think we have to have room for constructive observation or objective assessments or constructive criticism. One of the things, Dana, when you talked about your goals, the goals with respect to use of data, increased program quality and accountability, enhancing internal and external communication, developing employability skills, a lot of that in the past, and then this goes back to when you guys started Future Little Rock in the fall of 1993, which led to the passage of the Hastings sales tax in December of 93, which led to the funding of PIT. We had an intermediary to provide those services. I don't think you're fully staffed enough to provide those services because that's a lot of work. And conversely, when you talked about hotspots, we had those programs located in those hotspots, so we didn't rely on the police department to tell us that. We had an intermediary who used data to tell us where those hotspots were. So we were able to, in many cases, determine, based on what happened in a hotspot in a particular weekend, determine through school-based case management, determine which schools were going to need some intervention specialists on site that Monday. And based on what happened at schools on Fridays, we were able to determine which parts of the community needed intense crisis intervention. And I don't see us having that available anymore. And I think it's something that's sorely needed, given the return of the mindset of some of the young people that we're seeing nowadays who have this dangerous combination that we saw, Dean, back in 92 and 93, a dangerous combination of fearlessness and hopelessness. And if they're fearless, more police on the streets doesn't bother them at all. And if they're hopeless, then the action they're doing doesn't bother them at all because they don't have any hope for anything. They don't see themselves in the future, and we'll provide opportunity to see them beyond the current time that they're existing in. So I think we need to be really, really, really observant of how we've changed our system somewhat, and we've kind of deviated. And I'm not going to say devolved, but I'm going to say deviated from how we started PIT. I, for one, Mayor, don't think we need to call it PIT anymore because we're not providing any treatment. There's no treatment. When we started PIT, we had substance abuse treatment for any adolescents who went to Little Rock School District School or lived in the city of Little Rock, provided in partnership with Children's Hospital. We had treatment in partnership with our support centers at BCD and Step Up Center, where we did pre and post treatment work. We're not doing treatment anymore. And in terms of Dana, positive prevention, I think that 6 to 12 group, I think that's a good name for that group. But the 13 to 18 or 13 to 19, we need to have a more focus on intervention rather than prevention. And we need to know that prevention, we need to take that in this light as well, because problem-free doesn't mean fully prepared. I think we need to graduate from prevention to youth development. We've had experts come here. We brought them down here to tell us that problem-free doesn't mean fully prepared. And you say, well, Ken, what do you mean? I said, well, Dana, I want you to hire Tom as our city attorney. You say, well, Ken, tell me something. The director Richard, tell me something about Tom. I said, well, Tom is not in the gang. He doesn't sell drugs. He's not a truant. He's not creating problems in the community. And I said, well, Dana, would you hire him? Chances are, if you were smart, you say no. Because I haven't told you anything that Tom can do. I told you all the things I prevented from happening to Tom. All the things that Tom is not doing. So we need to take that into consideration where we move away from that prevention mindset, because problem-free, guys, does not necessarily mean fully prepared. We need to prepare these young people for the future, prepare them with skill sets and develop them and embrace the youth development mindset and the youth development modality to move forward as we prepare these young people who unfortunately now have this dangerous combination that we saw when I was working out in the streets of fearlessness and hopelessness. That's a dangerous mindset. Fearlessness and hopelessness. And when those are combined, you get some of these idiotic acts of violence that we see in our community that unfortunately wreaks havoc throughout the whole city, not just in those hot spots, because these young people are mobile now. And it's going outside the hot spots that we've identified in the past. So, Dana, I just want to make those suggestions and thank you and your staff for doing, I think you guys are doing a great job of what you're capable of doing, given the amount of staffing and or funding that's available to your department. But I think we need to look past what we're doing right now, figure out a way to grow it and maturate it and develop it into what it needs to be in order for it to have its greatest success. And that's all I have, Mayor, on that.
Thank you, Director Adcock.
Yes. I would like to see more information on page 31, which is the summer youth program. I would like to see where these youth was employed, what type of job they had. I would like to see it by their age and by their race, please. And also how many of them was employed by You've Got Local Government. I want to make sure we're really reaching out, and I'd like to know how we're reaching out to the high schools for these youth.
Okay, we can definitely get you that information. Some of it, just to answer real quickly, we definitely go to all the high schools to make sure, because we have a dedicated summer youth employment opportunity coordinator, and that's part of what she does, is actually go to all the high schools, does presentations, and then especially at the schools where we have in-school coordinators, then they work with them to make sure that they're actually getting signed up.
You're saying that you visit all the high schools?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the charter as well as the parochial schools?
Not those, I'm sorry. We do the Little Rock School District, so I understand what you're saying.
Is there a reason you do not reach out to the charter schools and other schools?
Nope.
I'd like for us to see about reaching out to them this year. Also, I'd like to know how much money is put into this program. And it says that the average income earned, now that's the mentors that earns that money, not the...
The interns, yes.
The interns earn that.
Right.
And how much do they get for their summer?
We just increased it to $11 an hour.
Okay. Okay, I think that's an outstanding program. I think it reaches lots of kids that are not involved in some of these other programs. So I'd like to see if we can't expand that to make sure that the charter schools and other schools have the opportunity.
Okay, definitely. And I will say they do come to us, but we haven't done presentations at their schools. So I want to make sure that everyone knows the program is open to anyone ages 16 to 21. Only 2 requirements: 16 to 21, resident of City of Little Rock. Other than that, anyone is available to.
And since you announced that, would you give them the telephone number to call?
Sure. They can contact 501-399-3420, but the job is also available on the regular City of Little Rock employment website, so you can definitely go there, and it's summer youth employment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Director Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Dossett, for the presentation and your team's hard work on what you do. I know a lot of times the public doesn't hear all the good work that we do, all the things that goes on behind the scenes on the ground level. So I appreciate you sharing that with us and with the public so they know that this is an effective program. I do have 2 questions for you, Director Dossett. First, and if you mention this, please forgive me, but as it relates to the RFP process, are we still doing trainings to help potential partners understand how to do this, how to work with the city, how to apply for contract for services? Are we still doing that? And if so, how often does that happen?
Right now, at this point, it happens once a year. That is our pre-bid seminar where we go through all things of how to work with us. And one other thing we're excited to announce, we haven't shown it just yet, but we have just finished it. We have a video now that helps the community or businesses, I should say, learn how to actually get in the system. Because as you know, you must become a vendor of the city first, or a supplier. And so we just created a literal step-by-step video that helps anyone learn how to get through that process. But the short answer is yes, we do that. Then also every time we release an RFP, there is a pre-bid seminar as well that helps them understand, and we answer as many questions as we can on what it is that they need to know to be successful in bidding on whatever opportunities we have. And then lastly, I'll say that is also the purpose of the small contracts, is that when we don't have an open bid available, people can still come to work with us with a small contract, and that is so that they can learn how do you work with us, what are the types of things that we try to accomplish through our department, and that's available at any month throughout the year.
Understood. Thank you for that. And as it relates to that video, can you get that to us? So if we need to share it with our constituents, we can?
Sure, definitely. We'd love to.
Okay, and then my second question was, when I first got on the board, I heard a lot about the 5.5 million number as it relates to the PIT funding. Are we at the point now where we're pretty much exhausting that in all these different programs we're operating, or is there still delta there?
Depends on how you look at it.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I say that is because what that allows us to do, I know you hear often every year about our carryover. What we're looking to do with that is it allows us to employ more and more students. Because just as Director Adcock said, we're starting to get a lot more students, especially for summer youth employment and some of our other opportunities, and we need additional funds for those. So as they become available, then we're able to employ more students, because that's one program that, depending upon how many funds we have, we can massage that number. Now, I can tell you, if you gave me $10 million, I'd be able to use it. And so
I could use 10 million.
yeah. And so I'd say that, yes, now that we're having more robust programs, as you can see, that's one reason why we did want to do this presentation, was so that you could see there are several areas that we could always enhance if we had more resources. But we are utilizing those to answer your question.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for the work. The booklet, the annual report looks great. I'll be happy to share this with my constituents about all the work that you and your team is doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. Dana, I just want to say to you and to everybody on your team who's here today, thank you. I think we have a really good team in place now in the department. And to my colleagues who don't get to go to the meetings of the CYF, I've been to almost every meeting for the last 9 years. And I think that not only is your department as strong or stronger than it's ever been, I think the commission is stronger than it's ever been. And the commission takes its fiduciary responsibility very seriously. I say that to my colleagues on the board. And it doesn't matter if it's a small contract or a large contract. We ask a lot of questions. We want to make sure that they're going to be able to use the funds wisely and make an impact with the funds that they do. And then finally, as a commission, we do go out and visit the programs, so we get to see firsthand what's going on. I think we have a visit coming up the last week in April. And so if anybody has questions, I also would be happy to talk to you after the meeting or sometime to talk about the great work that Dana and her team and that the CYF is doing for the youth of our city. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Director Richardson, then Director Lewis.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One last point I want to make, and I don't want to sound out of tune with the rest of the choir members, my colleagues, but I think if we look back and do an objective analysis, we'll see that our greatest year with respect to numbers of young people employed during summer employment was during 2007. Now, that coincidentally happened to be the year where the Chamber of Commerce subsidized some of those employment opportunities. So we had our greatest number in 2007. Dana, you should be able to find those numbers in your records somewhere. That was the greatest year we've had. So it wasn't the city just subsidizing all those summer employment opportunities. We had the Chamber of Commerce involved. And one of the things that I think, Director Adcock, that we had a deliberate focus on is focusing on those young people who were not in school. Those are the ones who were using employability, illegal employability means as a way to address their needs, which created a lot of the violence that we saw in the community. And in fact, when we targeted young people for the programming, most of those young people were banned. We had programs at South End Community Center, East End Community Center, Dunbar Community Center, Thrashers Boys Clubs, and all these other traditional youth serving organizations. All those young people that we served during those programs at that time had been banned from those facilities because of behavior problems. The only way we were able to get them back into those sites were through those programs that we had initiated there. So through those programs, we were able to get them back into some of those facilities. We were able to get some of them back into school. We were able to get some of them out of juvenile court system. We were able to interact. So we need to make sure, guys, we're serving the right population. My good friend Lance had a term, I'm not going to repeat that term, but I would put it in another phrase when we talked about this a while ago. I would say we need to make sure we're not doing babysitting and working with young people are going to be okay if they didn't have these services. So I think we need to target those who are the hardest to reach, those who are creating the most problems. If in fact we're going to be true to what we said we were going to do when we started and advertise and publicize the sales of that half-cent Future Little Rock sales tax, we're deliberate. That $3 million figure, guys, wasn't an arbitrary amount. That amount, and Dean can attest to this, that amount was based on our concept of saying we're going to do dollar for dollar. After 2 previous failed sales taxes focused on just on more police and bigger jails, they failed miserably. This group came back and said, for every dollar we spend on law enforcement, we're going to spend $1 on prevention, intervention, and treatment. That $3 million figure, guys, was based. It wasn't an arbitrary amount. It wasn't an amount that pulled out and said, this is what it's going to take. It was an amount that it was going to cost us to hire 135 new police officers over a 3-year period. And Director Phillips, that $5.5 million in reality should be $6 million, because during the recession in 2008, we took $500,000 out of PIT. We never put it back. We took away our funding for Chamber of Commerce. Now, we're not fully funding them at $300,000 anymore. I think we're at $250,000, but we put them back. We never put that $500,000 back that we took out in the recession of 2008. We took away from PIT. So in all actuality, in all reality, we should be working with $6 million if we were going to be true to what we said we were going to do at that time. And also, I'd like to say that the carryover that Dana mentioned, that can be orchestrated internally by the delay of the issuance of RFPs or RFQs. It can be orchestrated by the delay in the signing of contracts or development of contracts. So we can guarantee carryover every year. We can almost guarantee that if we want to have that. And we can couch it and frame it. Well, we're not spending 5.5, we're spending 7.5. Because look at the $2 million we brought from last year. Well, that $2 million should have been spent the previous year. So I just think we need to make sure we're looking at this and to take a real deep, hard, aggressive look at what's going on, because we say public safety is our #1 priority. And we need to figure out ways we can improve what we're doing with PIT the same way that we do with our police department. We give them what they need. So I'm at the point now, guys, I don't want to be a choir member that's out of tune with the rest of the choir, but I don't think we need to have any sacred cows nor sacrificial lambs. And that's all I have to say on that, man. And Dana, thank you guys. You guys are doing a wonderful job. So please don't take my comments as being derogatory of the work that you guys are doing or the work that we're doing in the city through PIT. I think that we're doing some great work, but I think it can be enhanced and it can be developed a little bit more where we're reaching the people who need to be reached. And we're not just reaching people just to say we're reaching people, and we're engaging people. And that's a big difference, guys, if you want to look at it. And on the employment side, most of the violence that's centered in the streets now, unlike 30 years ago, the color was red and blue. The color right now is green, guys. Anybody who has a finger on the pulse of the community, you know that a lot of the things that we're seeing happening that devolve into group conflicts, they start out as individual conflicts centered around money, transactions, green, not red or blue. And if we have that kind of diagnosis, then we can have a proper prescription. And Dean would agree with me. An improper diagnosis could render an improper prescription for the problem that you're experiencing. So that's all I have to say, man. Thank you guys for Dana and you guys do all the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Director Richardson. Director Lewis.
I just want to say thanks as well to Dana and her staff. It was great working with you all last year, specifically on the Ward 6 block party, and looking forward to an upcoming event for this year. And then want to give a shout out to housing and neighborhood programs, as last week was National Community Development Week, and we had the ribbon cutting for 4403 Bowers Street. So they are doing great things as well in regards to helping the affordable housing initiative. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much, Director Lewis. Director Doucette, if you would, as quickly as we can, get the annual report online as well.
Excuse me, I didn't hear your comment. Say that again, please.
As quickly as we can, if you could make certain that the annual report is online as well.
Oh, yes, online. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, members of the board also just want to share on April the 30th at 4:00 p.m., we will recognize Little Rock Christian Academy's boys team who won the 4A state championship. As you can see, Little Rock was well represented to take care of all the ships, so we're very grateful for them as well. So we'll recognize them on April 30th at the agenda meeting there. Board members, we have two modifications. One is a resolution to transfer the property located at 1816 South Schiller Street. Unless there's any questions, we'll add that to agenda. Is there a motion?
So move.
No motion.
Oh.
Oh, wait, that's right. Yeah, we're gonna, second, I'm sorry about that, I'm acting like we're in a meeting. We're gonna be doing some modification on 9 residential condemnations there. You'll get some more information. Or you
Can we
see
have
it.
pictures on that, please?
Excuse me?
Can we have pictures on the houses that are going to be just?
Yes, ma'am.
We have them now, correct?
They're being shown. All right, as the pictures go, are there any questions on the consent agenda, items 1 through 12? Any questions on items 1 through 12?
I had a question, Mayor, on number 6.
All right.
This might be a question for our acting city manager. I couldn't tell from the documents, do we actually submit this, or are we agreeing to allow RDOT to submit it on our behalf?
My understanding was that we submit, but John, do you have any other insights? No. 6.
Well, not 6.
This is for the TAP?
Oh, for TAP.
Yeah, I guess the numbers changed. Number 5, I'm sorry.
The Transportation Alternatives Program?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I had the right one. That's an application that we make as the city for that funding through RDOT. And this is basically a resolution saying that the city supports that application to apply for that funding.
Also, we seek the funding from RDOT, who gets the money from the federal government.
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense.
You bet.
Okay, thanks, John.
You're welcome.
That's all I had on that part of the consent agenda, Mayor.
All right, any questions on planning items 13 through 24?
Man, I don't know if you can see, I had my hand up before we move to that.
I'm sorry, Director Richardson, you're recognized.
That's okay, sir. I wanted us, I think prior to your tenure, Mayor, I've asked for this before, and we've seen this before, but I would like for us to see, since we're looking at those pictures, getting a snapshot, so we can get a snapshot of our city in its totality. Can we have by ward over the last 5 years the number of condemnations and demolitions in this city, and also by ward the number of UV structures from Mr. Howard in this department prior to next week's meeting? If that could be an opponent, I'd really appreciate that. If that's too much, then I would understand it's going to take some time. But I would like, as we look at snapshots of those houses that are going to be condemned, to get a snapshot of our city in its totality. If we can have the total number of condemnations and demolitions in the last 5 years per ward, by ward, and as well as the UV structures by ward.
Yes, sir, we'll get that to you as soon as possible.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any questions on items 13 to 24?
Got my hand up, Mayor.
Director Phillips.
I had a question on number 17 and number 18. And number 17, I'm not really sure who this is addressed to, but this sounds like a great project that's going to be very helpful to some of our residents who are in need. Are we behind this as the city?
We did lease the land to Women and Children First, which came before the board, and now they're pursuing a zoning change.
Oh, okay. So we leased it to them, but they're going to operate it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. This sounds like a great project. I'm all for it. I just didn't know what our involvement as a city was. So that's awesome. I'll definitely be supportive of that. And then I had a question for, I guess, Director Collins on number 18, Mayor.
Director Collins.
First, Director Collins, give you and your team a shout out. I noticed this is not related to number 18, but I noticed in the write-up about the short-term rentals, we had the section about the prior history of the rentals, so I appreciate you adding that. But as it relates to number 18, I had a question about the hours for this potential convenience store, because in the write-up portion, it says, I think that it will be open late at night, and then I guess at the planning commission, the applicant said that he was shorten the time of hours of operation. So I just want to know is that what we're voting on, the shorter time frame from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
Yes.
Or the original time frame?
And I can understand it's a little confusing in the write-up. We keep everything from the moment the application's heard, through there. So when they change, and that's what they did, they changed their hours of operation, and that's that final action, which is that March 14th. And so their final hours of operation, they dropped the drive-through window, and their hours of operation are from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Understood. And as I understand that, there is a structure on the building, but nothing operates in that structure currently, correct?
Currently correct.
Yep. Okay. I just wanted clarity on those two things. Thank you, Director Collins. Thank you, Mayor.
Director Hines.
Yeah, Jamie, on that same deal, why am I thinking that we had some kind of restrictions or something against somebody operating a convenience store without gas pumps? I'm trying to go back to, I think this was Director Richardson's project. Tom, didn't we have some restriction or extra requirements on properties that operate as a convenience store with no gas pumps?
Director Heights, off the top of my head, I do not remember. I know that there was a discussion on that and on what was sold within those stations, but I do not remember the specifics.
Okay, thank you.
I see no other questions. Anything on item 25 to 29?
I have one on 26 and 29.
Director Adcock.
On item 26, I'd like a presentation. And
all right. We'll ask Mr. Nick Sarpy and James Owen.
And on 29, I would like Mr. Collins to answer some questions.
All right. James, if you'll just give a brief overview of solar, and then Nick can go through the finance.
Sure,
I would
thank
like
you, Mayor.
to know what amount the small-term financing is.
Oh, well, we'll just go straight to Nick. Nick?
Okay.
I thought you, okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Board of Directors. So it'd be up to an amount up to $12 million would be the short-term financing as far as the principal amount goes to finance the solar facility, including any potential change orders to the project.
Okay.
Director Miller?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Well, I'm sorry, Director Miller. Director Adcock, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Director Miller.
Thanks, Mayor. I was just curious, you talked about land that's going to be used. Have we identified the land at this point?
James?
Yes, sir. So there are 3 or 4 different sites that we're looking at, and it's a process where we have to go through a preliminary interconnection study, and so we have submitted those, and so we hear back from Entergy, and then that helps us narrow down those sites, and so we're at that point now that we've narrowed down those sites, and then we have to submit another study that's called the facility study, and that is another study that we submit to Entergy. We're working on getting those together with the vendor, and once we submit that, that gives us the number that it costs for facility upgrades to the grid, and that is the number that once we have that amount, we send that check in, and that's what qualifies us for the interconnection agreement and locks in that 1-to-1 net metering rate.
still working on it.
Yeah, well, so essentially, we'll resend out to the board. We've sent it before. There are 4 sites. One of the sites that we're looking at it could be near the port, I believe, Rock Creek. If you got it.
Foosh Bottoms and around there, around Rimmel
Creek, I'm sorry.
Rimmel Park.
Yeah. So Foosh Bottoms, Rimmel, and the port are the areas that we're looking at. So we're just waiting to see what fits with Entergy.
Follow up on this.
All of which we own the land. We believe we can work out a deal with the port. Director, I want to go in order. I'll go to Director Hines and to Director Phillips.
So when we talk about short-term notes, we're talking 5-year term. And then what's our projected payback on this project to recapture the money spent?
So with the way that it's financed, our North Star for this project has been, if we're not saving money, we're doing this wrong. And so we anticipate about $1 million in cost savings every year. The expected life of this project, we've run the pro formas off 20-year expected life.
Okay.
And so that increases. There's a 3% escalator in there.
Okay, so at $12 million, it's a 12-year payback.
And we also
$1 million,
expect a federal tax credit of $4 million.
Okay, so it's less. It's eight years then. Okay.
Well, 5 years, but we're hopeful to get a federal tax credit of $4 million back to help us pay off the short-term note.
Okay, the 12. So that leaves 8. Am I doing the math right? $1 million a year, that's 8 years. Okay, I'm just trying to get back.
And then Director Hines, I want to be very conservative. The $1 million saving is a gross saving, and I want to make sure, but the payback that you're figuring out is around that same. But just want to make certain we're clear on that.
Thanks.
All right. Director Peck.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Director Peck. Director Phillips, then Director Peck.
My question was answered by James as it relates to the savings, so I'm good, Mayor. Thanks, James.
Director Peck.
Mine's on 29, Mayor.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, again, members of the board, as you already approved the process of the going solar, I want to remind everyone, not only do we get savings, which is very important, but also it gets us closer to our 100% clean energy and within the city operations. By doing this, we'll get close to 70% of that goal just by making that transition, and I'm very grateful to the team that's been playing a part of this process. So just wanted to share that as we reach that goal together, and thank you for approving it. Director Peck.
Yes, that is for James, for Director Collins.
For 29, I'm sorry.
Jamie, on 29, I see that the Planning Commission voted to approve this and staff recommends denial. Can you give us some feedback on that?
Yes, and just the review of it, as requested by the board through this process, we also request if any, they have any covenants, restrictions that we know of that's been filed. And one of those is that and you'll see more of that as you go out west than as you go down to Ward 3 or more of the lot and block scenarios. And so our recommendation is one of those criteria is we could take it under consideration, just as the Planning Commission can and just as the board can. And when we review those bill of assurances, and I want to preface that by saying we are not their attorneys, we do not represent them. That is a private agreement, but those entities, the bill of assurance, we believe, does have a restriction on commercial use for that subdivision and that area. And so for this one, that was the primary reason for that.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I still have 29.
All right. Your question?
Mr. Collins, on 29, what is the objections by the neighborhood?
The one individual, when he spoke, and I'll have to get it more detailed, he was just concerned about the neighborhood and just turning into commercial. Because this is, when you rezone it to a short term, we deem that through the ordinance, it's a plan development for commercial for an STR2, and that's what this one is.
You only had one person.
One person showed up, the registered objector spoke.
Okay, thank you.
And if, I'll make sure that there's anything that as we have previously, anybody send anything in, we'll make sure we make that available.
Okay, thank you.
Director Phillips?
This is not on number 29, Mayor.
All right, well, we don't have anything else after that.
Okay, I was going to ask the city attorney to give us an update. I know we were looking into doing a disparity study. I've been contacted by a number of businesses about our ability to do business with other businesses. So I want to know where we are on that.
My office has completed a review of what was offered as a contract, made numerous suggestions. Last Friday, Mr. Patesh let me know that the suggestions were accepted and that we needed to redraft the contract. It was Friday afternoon. I was out yesterday, my secretary was out yesterday, and then she had an automobile accident today, so I'm going to give it to another secretary tomorrow to incorporate those changes into the agreement and give it to finance to get out.
Okay, and just for clarity for those listening, Tom, explain what the agreement is so we're all on the same page.
A disparity study is to determine whether or not there have been barriers placed into competition by a government. It allows data. It also allows apocryphal evidence. If there has been disparity in particular businesses or industries that have been based upon the ownership of those businesses or industries, particularly focused upon minorities, women, the federal government goes as far as veterans and other things, but if there is, and if it's because of a city policy, then the city can take that into effect as it awards contracts in the future. The problem with the state of Arkansas, or a problem for the state of Arkansas, is that for everything except professional services, it's the lowest responsive price that wins the bid. The question is, can we insist upon actions with smaller firms? Can we do something that actually gives that group a leg up in the bid process? And if we can, then the concept is that by doing that, we could make up for discriminatory practices that the city had engaged in and get more players in the economic market, which in the long run should lead to lower prices for the city.
That's my understanding as well. Thank you, City Attorney. But specifically, the agreement that you're working on, what is that agreement for?
Well, the agreement is on doing the study, and the changes were to recognize the changes that have come across in this area of the law, particularly since the U.S. Supreme Court decided the Harvard admissions case. And since then, 2 different federal courts have set aside or enjoined SBA requirements that would allow for such consideration as violative of the 14th Amendment. So the amendments essentially are to make sure that we get data that is good and that does not fall contrary to what the U.S. Supreme Court has said.
So your office is working on the agreement for us to work with a company to conduct the disparity study, correct?
Well, I mean, yes, we've done the work. We'll get it typed up tomorrow, literally, and given to finance to send to the entity. The entity has been selected after a competitive process. It wasn't lowest price, it was a professional service process.
Understood. Thank you for the update. That's all I have, Mayor.
Director Richardson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to dovetail Director Phillips' question. Tom, can you say it loudly and clearly for those who try to misrepresent what the disparity study is about and what our overall goal is to make sure we have fairness and equity? Can you please tell folks we're not talking about quotas? Can we hear you say that on camera, on the tape right now? What Director Phillips and what we're talking about, the city as a goal, as we move forward to try to address some of the past deeds. We're not talking about quotas. We're talking about trying to make sure we have a fair and equitable system that takes into consideration that we have a number of different entities out there that have the capacity or may need incentives or may need assistance to build a capacity, like Dana talked about those small grants. And we want to do that in a way that's going to help improve our city overall in a total aspect. We're not talking about quotas. And can you say that clearly for the people who are watching and listening, and even my colleagues as well, sir?
The concept of quotas came up in a case out of the city of Richmond that the U.S. Supreme Court set aside their set-asides for particular groups to be able to have portions of contracts. They wanted to be able to get more involvement in the economic sphere. What a disparity study does is look at all of the different businesses and industries, looks at which of those businesses and industries have ownership by certain identified groups, and if there is anything in the city's policies that is a barrier to straight-on competition. If there is, then the city can take affirmative steps to be able to get greater numbers of contracts to greater people. There are things the city can do without that, and the example I've given often is if we have 2 miles worth of road resurfacing to do, we could probably do it quicker with one company. But if we broke it down into a number of companies, more companies would be able to get the bonding and be able to do the work on the thing. And in that place, get more people that would be able to compete for future contracts. The example here was the Convention and Visitors Bureau broke up how they did the flooring contracts for the new convention center, and that made it possible for smaller businesses, many of which were either women-owned or minority-owned, to compete and to win the bids and be able to get into it. And then what happens to them is they get a job, they win it, they do it. Now they can get more bonding. Now they have a greater reputation. Now the city has a greater chance to get the best possible price for what it's seeking.
Okay, so can you just say this? I know we've already done your evaluation. Can you say this for me? We're not talking about quotas.
We're not talking about quotas.
All right, thank you, sir. That's all I need to hear you say. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Director Lewis.
And item 18 be kept separate or moved to separate out of group.
Item 18, yes, we'll make it separate.
Thank you.
All right. Members of the board, I do want to share, ask you all to tentatively hold your calendar on May 7th and 8th. We're not completely sure on all the logistics and details in regards to the sculpture unveiling of the Daisy Bates statue. But if you all would just tentatively hold that on your calendars, and we'll be back with you with more details. We don't have all the details, but just want to hold that calendar in the event that we need to change the city board meeting. We'll look at doing that, but once we get more logistical details, but wanted to get that to you. Lisa, we just got that information recently and wanted to get that information to you all in regards to the sculpture unveiling of the Daisy Bates statue in Statutory Hall in Washington, D.C. Secondly, what we discussed, Little Rock Christian. I think that is it. Meeting adjourned.